Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Believe in Lions. As always, it is brought to you by FanDuel. I'm Trevor Thompson. Glad to have all of you along with us. So much to talk about in this episode of Believe in Lions post-draft, OTAs. Lots to talk about the Lions' upcoming schedule. And here to do it with me is a guy who knows this team inside and out like no other. He is the host of the Daily Lions podcast, Locked on Lions. Matt Dery joins us once again. Dees, I really do appreciate your time. So much to get to, as I just outlined right here. But last time you were on, I said I'd have you back after the draft. We'd review what your thoughts were on what the Lions got accomplished through the draft. A lot of people gave it high grades. What's your grade, guy?
Yeah, I really like the draft, Trevor. I mean, I would say I would put it in the B to B plus range. So that's it. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. It's great to see you, brother. Let me say this. You and I talked before the draft, and what did we both say? Man, we know what Brad Holmes is talking about. We know he's a best player available type of guy, but man, they've got to get a tackle and an edge, right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what they did, and it was refreshing. And I know some people will say, well, did they get the right guy? Is Blake Miller the guy, or should it have been Monroe Freeling or Maxie Honicher? And at the edge spot, they take Derek Moore over Zion Young, who some people thought, the kid from Missouri, was ranked higher.
I'm one of them. I was a Zion Young guy.
Yeah, we'll know in a couple of years, right? But at least they filled those spots that were need and did it in a way where you got two guys that were team captains that I think fit the chemistry and the culture here in Detroit, and you took them with your first two picks. So I'm pleased with what they did. You know, the one issue I had was moving up in the 5th round for a kick returner. But other than that, I really like what they did overall.
You know, and I want to go back to Blake Miller, their number one pick at 17, and just talk about that for a second. Dalton Wasserman, he was our draft analyst and came on, and he was the first guy that brought up Blake Miller to me, and he was beating that drum, said that was a guy he really liked, the guy that's going to be plug and play for the next 10 years. And although there are other guys that might be more highly rated, this is a guy that's going to fit what you want to do here. And he rated really high on the grit index as far as the Lions podcast or the Lions website is concerned. They've got that grit index, and he was the 6th overall rated player on the grit index. So what also Glover loved about this guy, Glover Quinn was talking about this on the post-draft show as well, that he is a grit sort of guy. Here's a guy that played every game. Only in his 4 years at Clemson, only missed one practice, and that was because he had surgery to get a wrist repaired and then continued to play through that. He shows up. He's available every day. He's a big guy. Like I said, plug and play. The more I see the film, the more I hear these guys talk about him, I'm starting to really appreciate what he brings to the table. What are your thoughts post-draft about him versus anybody else and everything that you've heard since then or leading into the draft, what your thoughts were?
Yeah, Trev, I mean, let's be honest. It was him or Monroe Freeling at 17. I know the Lions were trying to move up. There was some talk about, hey, if they could move up to 14 or 15 to snag Ruben Bain and get ahead of Tampa Bay at 13 or 14. I get that. That was a kid that had fallen a little bit, and nobody thought he'd be there for Tampa at 15. But with that being said, when you know you there's that tackle market, and Fano's gone, Maui Noah is gone for Miami, and even Caden Proctor goes to the Dolphins. Maui Noah, I should say, went to the Giants. Then you've got your pick of a few guys. But what's the one thing that Blake Miller could do that you knew he could do that maybe a Monroe Freeling couldn't? And that's availability. I mean, to start every game at Clemson, and I know some people say, well, why didn't they take an SEC lineman or Big Ten? Clemson's pretty damn good. And I know they didn't have a good season this year, but Dabo has had a very good program for many years. To start every game for 4 years, to know you put a guy at right tackle, you leave him there and not have to worry about him. You mentioned the wrist injury that he played through, missing 2 practices in 4 years. Impressive. And just 6'6", 320, can move bodies, solid, steady, and consistent. That's what you're looking for. Freeling might have a higher ceiling in about 2 or 3 years, but the Lions want to win now.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Freeling went to Carolina at 19, where he's probably a backup the first year. So you're going to get a starter in Miller, and that's what I liked about him.
What did you think of Derek Moore with the 50th pick? Or actually moving up to 44 to get him, but that pick in the 2nd round. What did you think there? Like I said, I was a Zion Young guy going in, and he was right there. They passed on him, and they moved up to get Moore for a reason. What was that reason in your mind?
Again, consistency, solid, team captain, leader, 4-year player. what I think was the biggest reason, and I've mentioned this on Locked On Lions a lot, is I think the Lions felt like, okay, Baltimore's at 45. They need an edge, which we know they took Zion Young, and he's an edge rusher. But Jesse Minter coached Derek Moore his freshman year when Jesse was the Michigan D coordinator. So I think the Lions got creative there. And I have no problem moving up to go, hey, look, we think the Ravens are going edge. We know Minter has a relationship already with Derek Moore, and that's the guy we like the best. We got to go get him. Go get him. There was a sense of urgency from Brad Holmes. You'll have plenty of people and haters and some experts that will say, well, why would you move up 6 spots and give up a pick and getting a guy that might not be as good as the other guy? If that's the guy they identified, I trust their scouting department, because these are the same people that moved up to get JMO, same people that moved up to get Jahmyr Gibbs, same people that moved up to get Brian Branch. So I have no issue with it. I think Derek Moore is solid. The question's going to be, you're right, at the next level, can he get around right tackles at this level? Because there were some games when Michigan played really good teams like Ohio State and others. He didn't have his best games if you look at some of his PFF numbers from the college ranks. But all in all, I liked it. And again, it fills that need that they had, and they have faith that he can get it done at this level.
And the same group that moved up to get Isaac Tesla last year, who flashed at times when given the opportunity, and is obviously going to have a bigger role this year. So we're going to see if that's going to be a payoff that continues to pay dividends down the road as they moved up to get that kind of athletic talent that they like, as well as the grit, again, that a player like that shows. Another guy that Dalton Wasserman was banging the drum on after the draft had passed and was shocked that the Lions got him at 157 with Keith Abney. So he's a tremendous athlete. Had him ranked in his top 75 players, in fact, and a guy who scored 28th overall on the grit index. Again, I'm going to go back to that because this is a team that really values those grit aspects and intangibles. A guy who also is a national record holder and champion as an inline skater. He's got athletic ability across the board as far as those kinds of things go outside of football. Some intangibles there as well. But like I said, back to Dalton, seeing this guy was ranked in his top 75, taken at 157. Everybody's raving about this pick and the value that they got with this kid. What do they know? What did people miss? And what do the Lions know that other people don't know as far as what this guy's going to bring to the table? What have you heard?
Well, I've heard 2 things. Number one, like you said, gritty and tough, and can mix it up, and has a little bit of a Meek Robertson in him in terms of, hey, you want to put me on an island out on the outside? You want me to play in the nickel in the slot and go one-on-one and play man coverage? He'll do it. The issue with Abney is he's 5'9", and he didn't run a great 40 time. But now again, a lot of times these teams go, no, we're never drafting corners under 5'11", and we're not drafting corners that don't run a 4.4, 4.5 or below. And Abney's 40 wasn't the best. With that being said, if he's able to hand fight and stick with receivers and get his nose in there, he had 5 interceptions last year at Arizona State, so he played in the Big 12. I'm with you, and I'm with Dalton Wasserman. I thought it was a really good pick in the 5th round. You can never have enough corners. We know the Lions going into this year are thinking Terrion, Arnold, DJ Reed, and Ennis Rakestraw as a top 3, but Ennis hasn't seen the field in 2 years. Right. Terrion's been on again, off again, hurt, and DJ Reed missed time a year ago. So there's going to be good competition at corner. I like the Christian Izien pickup in free agency. I like Roger McCreary. There's depth there. And on the Lions board, that was clearly the best player available at 157. And and you saw the timer. I mean, they picked him rather quickly.
This Terrion Arnold thing, this is a big year for this guy. He's going to have his head locked on. He's going to have to show that he's taking the next step on the field. How important is it for this franchise that this kid is who they thought he was when he drafted him, and he locks in and shows that this year? Forget the off-field stuff. Forget the troubles that he's had before on the field as far as his play there, the penalties and such. How important a season is this for the Lions and this particular player?
Well, he's a starter. They took him in the 1st round. And think about this, Trevor. We've been having the discussion. I know you've talked about it on your show. What do you do after this season? After this season, the Lions are presented with that. All right, we got Terrion for year 4, but what about that 5th-year option? What would you do if you're the Lions today? Gun to your head, do you pick up his 5th-year option? I'm not so sure. So you got to find out this year whether you have him for 2 more after this, because he's who you took in round 1. And that's so important.
That's going to be a big ticket if they pick up that option. That's going to be a big ticket.
It is, but if he's a shutdown guy this year, and you're in a division now with a Caleb Williams that's up and coming, Jordan Love, who many feel like, all right, he's now at that place where he's going to be really consistent in 2026. And the Vikings feel like they upgraded a quarterback with Kyler Murray over the Golden Child. So with that being said, what do we do?
And you've got to,
I love it. AJ McCarthy.
Yeah, the Golden Child. I love it.
But that's true. And so you've got to have guys that can cover. And like I said, DJ Reed last year was disappointing in the second half. I hope it was just the injury. Rakestraw, who knows? McCreary again, I like. And let's see what Abney and Khalil Dorsey, guys like that can do. But the guy you really want to learn about and know that you could put out there and not worry about is your former number 1 pick from 2 years ago. So big year for Terrion Arnold for sure.
Yeah. All eyes on that guy going forward. You mentioned 5th-year option. So they pick up Jahmyr Gibbs' 5th-year option. They don't pick up Jack Campbell's 5th-year option. Obviously, it's a money thing right now, but is that something that could come back to bite them? What were your thoughts there? I was kind of surprised in a way, kind of not surprised in another way, because dollars are obviously tight for this franchise right now. They're trying to do a lot of things. This guy is probably going to be a key, another first round pick, another key to what they're going to want to do going forward. But do they expose themselves to any risk here?
I mean, a little, but let's go by what the Ravens, can do. And that is normally 99 times out of 100, that front office with Eric DaCosta and before him, Ozzie Newsome, always took care of their own guys and never let good players leave the building. The Ravens thought there was no way that we're not going to pick up Tyler Linderbaum's option and not sign him. And then the Raiders came in with over $30 million to make him the highest paid center. And it was unheard of money. In this instance, I think the Lions will learn from that and go, all right, we're not going to let the Linderbaum situation happen here. We can't give Jack Campbell a 5th-year option and pay him more than Fred Warner. He's had one really good year where Jack made the Pro Bowl and you knew, man, is he good. With that being said, giving him that 5th-year option and paying him 22 is a lot higher than they want to be, where they want to be. So they've got to get with his agent this summer and figure out a way to get him signed long-term, 16, 17 a year, whatever it is, and make it affordable, smart, and extendable. And like you said, not go down that 5th-year option.
You think they can get him for under 20? You think they can get him for 15, 16? You think it's going to, in the end, going to cost 20?
Well, I don't know if they can because of everybody else they've got to sign.
Right.
Now Gibbs's number is not bad. What's it, 14 or 15?
14, 14, 5.
That's not horrible. But the Campbell number, you're right. I mean, it's risky, but I think they're going to get it done. I think they want him here. They've talked about this as his defense. And if they could give him a couple extra years on a hometown discount, that might be the way to go. But no, $22 million for 1 year and then going down that path when you've got to re-up Laporta and Branch and you have to wait on them to see if they're healthy. That would be a risk too.
Man. Yeah, he's going to get a big number regardless of what it is. But, you couldn't afford to do it now. They've got to put these pieces in place because they're in win-now mode, as you just mentioned, and they got to keep the band together. And they have, just like you mentioned, the Ravens taking care of their guys. The Lions have taken care of their guys as well. Maybe in some places, in some areas, to a fault. But they do take care of their guys. They know what they want. They know what their worth of these guys is, and they've gone about it that way. I want to talk to you about the Lions' strength of schedule now that we're here. Because it's just come out and they have the easiest strength of schedule going forward. If you look at the sharp metric, which goes on the Vegas odds on the win totals rather than win percentage of last season. I thought that was kind of interesting. The schedule is going to be easier, but the easiest schedule overall by that metric. What were your thoughts on that? We see who they're going to have on their schedule coming up, although we don't know what it is as far as dates go. But what did you think of where they're sitting right now, strength of schedule as compared to the rest of the league?
Well, number one, it worked for the Bears last year. You knew that Chicago was going to upgrade once Ben Johnson hit Hallis Hall. You knew Caleb Williams, the second year in with some real coaching, was going to take the next step, and he did. And they played a soft schedule. They played a 4th place schedule. The Lions finished 9-8, Trev. And it almost is like, good, I'm glad they lost to Minnesota because Minnesota's playing a 3rd place schedule. The Lions playing a 4th place schedule. Get teams that notoriously suck. Let's be honest. People are like, well, I love the people that say, well, Trevor, you never know about the teams until you play them. And that's true. But you're getting Tennessee, who's been bad for a while. You're getting the Jets, who, come on, have been bad for a while. You're playing Arizona again out there, and that's Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So these are teams that just have not been good. And you get the Giants again, and there's going to be a little bit of revenge there because last year, even though you skated past them you edge them in that overtime game. That's a team you've got to play better against this year. And I think there's a possibility that game's going to be the Germany game. We'll see. But all in all, yes. I mean, last year's schedule was a complete gauntlet. The Lions had a lot of talent, but with the injuries and with guys not performing and the offensive coordinator issues that they had a year ago and just underperforming, tough to win games at Baltimore, at Kansas City. You had the Steelers at home who ended up being a playoff team again. This year's schedule looks easy. Now it's the matter of when you're playing these teams and also, the Berlin game and who they're going to play there.
Yeah, last year they faced 4 teams with records under 500. This year on the schedule, they've got 9 teams with records under 500. That's a big, big difference. Emily, I would just throw in the Giants. You mentioned them. They'll face their old pal DJ Reader in that game, who recently signed with the Giants as well. So that'll be interesting. So we go back to the strength of schedule, and I said it was based on the Vegas metric on win totals. And the FanDuel win total for the Lions, the over-under is set at 10.5. They're minus 130 at 10.5. The Packers are second. Their over-under is 9.5. The Bears are at 9.5 as well, and then the Vikings at 8.5. That 10.5 win total. Your thoughts? You like that number? Think that number's high, low? Where are you on that number? You going over?
Well, last year, so if you and I were sitting here a year ago, we would have said the same thing. The number was identical. It was also 10.5. And I was saying, well, even with a tough schedule, I still see this as being an 11-win team. Now, it's a question of which Lions are going to show up, and the offensive line, which we had no idea at this time a year ago was going to be that horrible. It really wasn't good. Now you're moving Sewell to the left side. We talked about Blake Miller. I really like the Cade Mays pickup. You're going to have a little competition, I think, at left guard. Not that I think Mahogany will not be there, but what if a guy like Miles Frazier has a great camp or something? So we'll see. I'd say over right now based on the schedule, based on the fact, too, that I think the Lions last year had so many primetime games. And what they play
the schedule was all over the place. There was no rhyme or rhythm to it at all.
I think they didn't get into a rhythm. And you look this year and go, all right, the Lions won't play as many primetime games. They just won't, based off of last year. And so what if they get a string of 1:00 games in a row and they're in that routine? I think it helps them. I do. So I'll go over right now.
Okay. If you look at the other metric, and that is the strength of schedule based on win percentage of teams you faced last year, the Chicago Bears have the toughest strength of schedule.
Yeah.
That's not going to be easy for them. And the FanDuel odds right now, as far as they're concerned, in the NFC North, have them third, the Bears, with a tougher strength of schedule. You think the Lions are going to be better just based on the fact that hopefully they're going to be healthier. Let's just start there. And then they've got the easier strength of schedule. And their coordinators, well, at least Calvin Shepard's going to be in place for a second year. They've moved on from John Morton. They're going to have more stability in that area on offense as far as what they want to do. You hope they're going to be better all around because of some of those factors. They're still the odds-on favorite at plus 145 in the NFC North. Has anything changed for you in the NFC North following the draft? Looking at the schedules right now as far as strength of schedule, has anything changed for you as far as how you're going to rank these teams in the NFC North right now?
I thought the Bears, I know the people in Chicago, and I talk to Bears fans a lot. They're a little ticked off that the Bears did not get an edge rusher in the draft. They're concerned about that edge room. It would have been like if the Lions hadn't drafted Derek Moore. But I love Thieneman, their first round pick. I think the center from Iowa is a better pick than Bears fans think. And I think their free agency was pretty good, to be honest with you. Chicago is still, there's something about them. I think they're going to lose. They played so many close games that they eked out. I think some of that will balance out. I still think that's a playoff team. Green Bay is interesting for me because their draft was okay. They didn't have a first round pick. I wasn't real impressed with their haul, but they're young players on defense. And if Micah Parsons is healthy, I think the top of the division is going to be really good. Because I'm with you. I don't think the Lions are going to be as bad as they were a year ago. Vikings could surprise us if Kyler Murray has a pulse, but I still think they're fourth in the division. Lost a lot of veterans along that defense. So we'll see. But I thought Chicago actually had a pretty good draft. When I saw Thieneman went there at 25, he's a really good player and an upgraded safety for them. But They're going to be playing a lot of primetime games. People want to see Caleb Williams. It's that big market of Chicago that the networks want. And they're not going to sneak up on teams like they did last year.
So you've got them second or third. You still the Lions first? Are you
I'll
going
go
Lions
first? Yeah.
Lions, Bears, Pack, then the Vikings, or are you going Lions, Pack?
I'll go Green Bay 3.
Green Bay 3, Lions, Bears.
4 right now.
It's going to be interesting. But like you said, it's going to be a dogfight at the top of that division. Can't wait to watch it. I mentioned the Lions' injuries, and that being one of the factors that's probably going to help them this year because they're going to be healthier. They don't have any choice. You can't lead the league in man games lost to injury 3 years in a row, can you? I really don't think it can happen. But to that end, no rookie camp this year and no joint preseason opponents as far as the practices go. I really think that's going to help. And obviously, I think some of this is done and designed to keep guys healthier, to try anything. Then you're going to have that international game, like you mentioned in Munich. There's going to be that kind of travel involved. You've got to do what you can to get these guys rest, keep them fresh, and keep them on the field. Do you see any other reasons why some of these off-season, but preseason routine has been mixed up a little bit to try to maybe do some of that? Is that your thought there, or is there another reason in your mind?
I don't have sources or anybody telling me 100% that this is true, but you have to figure they really listened intently to their players in their walk-off or postseason interviews with the general manager and the coach. And it's so strange that you're right. Brad Holmes doesn't attend the league meetings. He stays back to work on the draft. They don't tell you who their top 30 visits were. They were very quiet. I heard from a couple of sources, they told numerous draft picks, don't tell anybody you came in here. They never did that in the past. They didn't hold a local pro day here where UDFAs, guys from local schools, Michigan State, could work out. They canceled that. You mentioned they canceled rookie minicamp. They've canceled joint practices. They may do less padded practices. They're going to go and do a 180 from everything that they did last year to see if it works. And you wonder if players went to them after the season in their exit interviews and said, look, we were beat up. There was too much happening. We didn't need this mini camp. We didn't need all of this. And so they're really, really dumbing it down. Will it work? I don't know, but there is a sense of urgency there. And you're right. Like a rookie mini camp. They're in shells, they're not in pads, but they're canceling it. Joint practices, you mentioned. How many times do we say the most important thing about August is the joint practices because the guys are all out there? So does that mean Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown play in a few preseason games, even if it's a quarter? Maybe that's what they do. They're doing everything that they didn't do last year to try to hopefully set them up for more success.
I go back to Hard Knocks, and it's just so memorable, and the passion of Dan Campbell when he said, I know you guys are in pads. I know this hurts. I know we got to do it, but we got to do this. We got to get to where we want to. And he just was pleading with his team to understand why he was putting them through this the way that he was. You saw the payoff because you see what they did on the field, but maybe in the long run, that did prove to be detrimental as far as the health of these guys on the field goes over the last couple of years. In the long run, you just can't take all these hits and all these padded practices and think in the long run that it's not going to have an adverse effect. And I really do think, like you do, maybe the guys went to them and said, dial it back a bit. We need to dial it back a bit. And common sense might say we need to dial it back a bit because something's going on here with all these injuries. We got to figure out what it is. And we're going to try and do everything we can to figure it out. And maybe this was one of the ways. At least that's what I'm thinking. And hopefully that is the payoff there. And these guys are fresher because, like you said, it's everything to do with winning now, keeping these guys fresh.
And they got their butts kicked at the end of this past season. The Pittsburgh game was in December. The Minnesota game on Christmas, they got pushed around. And I don't know if it's, oh my gosh, it's attrition time. It's week 15, it's week 16, whatever it was. And we're just exhausted and our bodies haven't been able to take it. Or it was, who knows? Because like you said on Hard Knocks, Campbell, that was on the ascension. That was the part of we got to get tough and the whole grit thing and an edge to them. And so now the Lions almost have to, because Dan Campbell's talked about getting that edge back, but also wants to dial it back. So what's the proper dance move here? We're going to find out because, like I said, there's so many things that the Lions have cut out, and I'm a little surprised they're not even doing just one joint practice.
I am too. I mean, and that's everybody's favorite. I mean, that's where we see the sparks fly and that sort of thing. I mean, I was looking forward to that. We always do, but it's going to be a change. We'll see if that pays off as well. Talk about exhausting. I've exhausted my topics for the show. What have you got going on Locked In Lions today and this week that you're focused on? What are you talking about as far as this team's concerned?
Well, you know, the biggest thing is that, and like you said it, I think right now there are some new faces and a lot of younger faces on the roster that fans just don't know. And I think the fans were hoping, and you know this, hey, can we get Max Crosby? Can we get Trey Hendrickson? Can we sign this person or that person? And instead, outside of Cade Mays, everybody got one-year deals and everybody got pretty much cheap deals. So how good can some of these secondary pieces be? Can a guy like Christian Izien, who I really like and I've watched a bunch of tape on lately, from Tampa come over? And if Branch has to start the year, Brian Branch, on the PUP list, maybe miss first couple of games, can Izien come in and do a better job? And this is no knock on a Thomas Harper or Vontae Maddox, but what if Izien comes in and really plays so well that the Lions figure we got to keep him on the field when Branch comes back, and we go more of a 4-2-5 look? They're going to change some things up. So just talking a little bit about some of the new guys. It was a big draft class that we're still talking about. And like you mentioned, we're getting up soon, next couple of weeks, on the actual schedule, which I'm intrigued about. How many primetime Lions fans love it? Oh my God, they were on primetime like every week last week or last year. Now it's how many 1 o'clock games are they going to get? And is that going to be a good thing that they get a regular break and a regular routine? I'm definitely intrigued by that. And also it's just going to be a big year, like you said, for Drew Petzing in this offense. I still think a veteran tight end like a Jonnu Smith who's out there or somebody, I think they're making a couple more signings at cheap money, whether it's an edge like Cam Jordan or a tight end. I think they're going to add to that room because Petzing loves tight ends. So keep an eye on that. And you never have enough edge rushers too. I think there's room for one more too.
Interesting stuff. He's full of interesting stuff. He's full of knowledge about this football team.
Full of something.
Matt Dery. That's me. Full of a lot of hooey over here. He is Matt Dery, Locked On Lions, the daily podcast. Tune in and catch his work. It is excellent work, as you have just heard over the last half hour on this edition of Believe in Lions. These, I really do appreciate you joining me this week. Thank you for the time and the insights, my man. Anything else you want to leave for the fans before we part?
No, keep checking out all the shows, including yours, Trevor, and tell GQ to I know he's a very busy man, but show is always great when you guys are together. I love watching you guys, and hopefully we'll be talking about a nice winning season and a lot of excitement this year for sure.
Always thinking about our guy, GQ. Shout out to you, GQ, doing his entrepreneurial thing this week. As Diesel and I lock it down on this edition of Believe in Lions, brought to you by FanDuel. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share, and enjoy, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again soon.